The city of Lagos was always alive, buzzing with impatient honks, chattering traders, and the endless swirl of dust and dreams. For Remy, one of Nigeria's youngest billionaires, it was both home and mystery. From the top floor of his 30-story glass office in Victoria Island, he could see the chaos below but rarely felt part of it. Every Thursday, Remy did something his staff found strange. He would dress in simple clothes, faded jeans, plain polo, and sunglasses, and drive himself through the streets of Lagos. No escorts. No tinted windows. Just him, his thoughts, and the heartbeat of the city. "Why do you keep doing this, sir?" his personal assistant once asked. "To remind myself of where I could have ended up," Remy had said quietly. "And to look for something I've lost, even if I don't know what it is." That Thursday was hotter than usual. The sun cast a harsh glare on the pavement. Sweat clung to his back as his car crawled through traffic in Oberland. He stopped at his usual roasted plantain spot. The air was thick with smoke from the firewood grill. As he waited for his bowlie to be packed, a movement across the road caught his attention. A heavily pregnant woman stood under the blistering sun, balancing a large tray of bottled groundnuts on her head. Her gown was faded, clinging to her swollen belly. She moved from car to car, softly calling out, "Groundnut, sweet groundnut, only 500 naira." She wasn't aggressive like the others. She didn't shove bottles through car windows or scream for attention. She was calm, almost graceful in her struggle. Her face glowed, not from makeup or luxury, but from a rare, quiet dignity. Remy's eyes locked onto her. There was something eerily familiar about the way her eyes narrowed when she smiled. The shape of her jawline. The dimple on her left cheek. It felt like looking into a mirror, or perhaps, into a memory that had never existed. He waved her over. She came slowly, her feet dragging in exhaustion. "Yes, Oga," she said, wiping sweat from her brow. "How much is your groundnut?" Remy asked, his voice gentle. 500 naira, sir," she replied. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a 10,000 Nigerian nairas note. "Keep the change." Her eyes widened. "Ow, Oga, God bless you. God bless your children. May your wife never cry over you. May you never see sorrow." Remy chuckled softly, but his heart thumped in his chest. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amora," she said shyly. He nodded. "Do you come here often?" "Every day, sir. Until baby come." She patted her belly with a weak laugh. Remy smiled faintly, but inside, he was shaken. "Have we met before?" he asked. She frowned slightly. "No, sir. Maybe I just have one of those faces." But Remy wasn't convinced. As she turned to walk away, he watched her closely. The curve of her back. The dimple on her cheek. The quiet strength in her gait. He didn't know it yet, but that moment was the beginning of a truth so deep, it would shatter everything he thought he knew about himself. And it had all started with a bottle of groundnut. Remy couldn't shake off her face. Even as his car sped away from the junction, Amora's image burned in his mind. Her soft voice, her gentle smile, the way she held her belly like it was a sacred treasure, it haunted him. But most of all, it was her face. The familiarity was too strong to ignore. It wasn't déjà vu. It was deeper than that. Almost like blood recognizing blood. Back in his penthouse apartment in Banana Island, Remy stood before his bathroom mirror, staring hard at his reflection. He touched the small dimple on his left cheek, the same one he had seen on Amora. He had always thought it was a rare family trait. Now, someone else wore it too. He rummaged through his drawer and pulled out an old baby photo, one of the very few he had. It showed him as a baby in the arms of a young woman. His mother. But something had always bothered him about the photo. There were two baby shoes on the floor. One blue, one pink. Only one baby in the picture. He had asked his father once. "I was your only child," his father had said sternly. "Your mother died giving birth to you. End of story." But it never felt like the end. Remy had always lived with a quiet emptiness he couldn't explain. Despite the mansions, the jets, and the overflowing accounts, something was missing. Now, after meeting Amora, even briefly, he had a strange, painful suspicion that he was finally beginning to understand what that emptiness was. Could she be? No. That was impossible. But the possibility wouldn't let him rest. That night, Remy drove to the house he had abandoned for years, the old family estate in Ikeja where he grew up. He hadn't returned since his father's burial 5 years earlier. The mansion was now occupied by their former housekeeper, Madame Grace, a woman in her early 70s who had served the family since before he was born. She opened the door, surprised. "Remy? My son, is everything okay? I need to ask you something. Something I should have asked long ago." They sat in the dimly lit parlor, the air heavy with history and secrets. "Did my mother really die giving birth to me?" Remy asked quietly. Madame Grace's eyes shifted. Her hands trembled slightly. "Remy, why are you asking this now?" "Because today, I saw a woman who looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same dimple, same everything. And I can't explain it." Madame Grace's lips parted slightly. She looked like a woman standing at the edge of a long-held secret, one she had buried deep under silence and fear. She hesitated. Then she sighed deeply. "I prayed this day would never come, but maybe it's time." She stood up slowly, walked to a small cabinet, and pulled out a worn-out envelope. Inside was a faded photo. 2 newborn babies, one wrapped in a blue cloth, the other in pink, lying side by side in a hospital bassinet. Remy stared at it, stunned. "Twins." She nodded, eyes glistening. "Your mother gave birth to twins, Remy. A boy and a girl. You and your sister." Remy's voice cracked. "Then, where is she?" "Your father, he didn't want a girl. Said she'd be a liability. He told me to give the baby away. Threatened to fire me if I didn't. I was young. I didn't know what to do. He arranged for her to be taken to an orphanage far away, in the east. He buried the story. And your mother, she never survived childbirth. She never even knew her daughter was alive." Remy was frozen. His throat tightened. Anger, pain, shock. A lifetime of questions came crashing down in 1 second. "And you never told me." "I was afraid. And ashamed. I thought I had buried it with your father. But maybe it's time to make things right." Remy rose to his feet, his jaw clenched, his mind spinning. He didn't just see a groundnut seller today. He had seen his sister. Remy drove through the night. The city lights blurred past him, but his mind was sharper than ever. Every word Madame Grace had said echoed in his head like a chant. "You had a twin sister. Your father gave her away." For 36 years, he had walked this earth as an only child, basking in wealth, status, and privilege, never knowing that the other half of his soul had been fighting to survive somewhere nearby. Selling groundnut on the streets, pregnant, alone. And he, her brother, had driven past her so many times, blind to the truth. The guilt crushed him. By 6:30 in the next morning, he was back at the Oberland Junction. The city was only beginning to stir, traders arranging their wares, buses honking impatiently, hawkers stretching beside their goods, but Amora was nowhere in sight. He waited. Minutes turned into hours. Still no sign. He bought plantain from the same roadside vendor and asked, "That groundnut woman, Amora. Have you seen her today?" The woman looked up and frowned. "You mean the pregnant one?" "Yes. Her. She hasn't come since last week. Oh. Her water broke right there on the roadside. One old mama rushed her to the hospital, somewhere in Bariga." Bariga. The name stabbed his chest. It wasn't far, but it was rough. Forgotten. A part of the city where time moved slowly, and people were left behind. "Do you know which hospital?" "No, Oga. But ask for Meman Kechi. Everybody in Bariga knows her. She helped carry the girl go." Remy thanked her and jumped back into his car, heart racing. Bariga was noisy, choked with life and struggle. It wasn't the kind of place someone like Remy would ever be seen, but today, nothing else mattered. He asked motorcyclists. He asked traders. He asked beggars. Maman Kechi, he called out to a group of women frying akara under a shed. An elderly woman with tribal marks stood up. I be Maman Kechi. Who dey find me? Remy approached her gently. Please ma. I was told you helped a pregnant woman named Amora about a week ago. I need to see her. The woman's eyes narrowed with concern. Who you be to her? Remy hesitated. His voice cracked. I think she's my sister. She studied him for a long second, then nodded slowly. Follow me. She led him through narrow alleys, past iron sheet doors and sleeping dogs, until they reached a cramped single-room building. The door creaked open. Inside, Amora lay on a low mattress, her back propped up by pillows. Her hair was tied back. She looked tired but peaceful, her arms wrapped around a small bundle. Her baby, a little girl. Amora looked up. Her eyes widened. You! She tried to sit up, confused and startled. Remy dropped to his knees, his voice shaking. Please, don't be afraid. I'm not here to harm you. She clutched the baby closer. Why are you here? He reached into his pocket, pulled out the photo of the 2 newborn babies Madame Grace had given him. Because I think you're my twin sister. Silence. Complete silence. Amora blinked, staring at the photo. Then at him. Then back at the photo. I don't understand. He explained everything, his visit to Madame Grace, the hidden truth, the orphanage in the East. As he spoke, Amora's breathing became shallow. Tears filled her eyes. I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere, she whispered. Maman Kechi told me she picked me from an orphanage when I was 3. I never knew my real family, but I always felt like I had someone out there. Remy pulled out another photo, one of himself at 10, holding a toy and smiling awkwardly. Amora smiled faintly through her tears. I know that smile. I've seen it in the mirror all my life. Then it hit her. She was no longer alone. She wasn't just a groundnut seller. She was a sister, a twin. And for the first time in years, she let herself cry, not from pain, but from a strange, overwhelming joy. The sun filtered through the cracked window of the small room as Amora sat in stunned silence, cradling her baby girl while Remy sat across from her, his eyes still red with emotion. The reunion had happened so fast, and yet, it felt like something that had been waiting to happen for a lifetime. Remy couldn't stop staring at the baby. She was so small, so perfect. A soft whimper escaped her lips as she nestled against her mother's chest. Amora gently adjusted the wrapper around her. What's her name? He asked quietly. Amora smiled faintly, wiping her face. Chisholm. It means God is with me. Remy nodded slowly. That name, it suits her. And you? There was a long pause. Why didn't you ever search for your family? He asked softly. Amora gave a dry, tired laugh. What family? I was abandoned. Maman Kechi told me I was brought to the orphanage by a stranger. No records. No name. I spent my childhood moving from one place to another. I learned not to expect too much from life. Remy's chest tightened. His voice dropped. I'm so sorry. If I had known. You didn't, she said gently. It's not your fault. He looked around the room. It was barely furnished, one old plastic chair, a cracked mirror on the wall, a leaking ceiling patched with nylon bags. And this was where his sister had been surviving? A part of him broke. No, you can't stay here. You and Chisholm, you're coming home with me. Amora blinked. Home? Way. My house, Remy said firmly. Banana Island. You don't belong here, Amora. You never did. You've lived like this long enough. She looked down at her baby, then back at him. I don't want charity. This isn't charity. This is family. You're my sister. My blood. You deserve more than this. You deserve the life that was stolen from you. Amora hesitated. The walls around her heart had taken years to build. But this man in front of her, who shared her face, her blood, her history, was gently tearing them down with every word. "Maman Kechi," she called softly. The old woman stepped in from the corridor, her eyes filled with tears. "Go, my daughter," she said, voice trembling. "This is God's hand. I raised you the best I could. But now, He has brought you back to where you belong." Remy walked to her and bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Ma, for keeping her safe." Maman Kechi smiled and embraced him. "Take care of her, and that child." Two black SUVs pulled up outside the compound. Remy had quietly called his staff to prepare for Amora and Chisholm's arrival. As they helped pack her few belongings, mostly baby clothes, a worn Bible, and some folded wrappers, Amora stood watching, stunned by how much her life had changed in 24 hours. As the car door opened, she turned to look at the only home she'd ever known. She had sold Groundnut under the rain, walked barefoot to clinics, slept hungry so her unborn child could eat. Now, she was driving to a mansion with a man who called her sister. The contrast made her chest tighten. Inside the car, Chisholm slept peacefully in her arms. Amora glanced at Remy, seated beside her, staring ahead with quiet determination. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked suddenly. He smiled. "I didn't. Until I met you." When they arrived at the estate, Amora's eyes widened. Tall palm trees lined the entrance. A fountain danced in the middle of the compound. White walls stretched high, with glass balconies overlooking a calm swimming pool. The mansion stood like something from a movie. "I don't belong here," she whispered, overwhelmed. Remy looked at her. "Yes, you do. You always have." Inside, a full suite had been prepared for her. Soft white bed sheets, baby crib, a walk-in closet already stocked with new clothes for her and Chisholm. Amora stood still for a long time, silent. Then slowly, she walked to the crib, gently laid Chisholm inside, and sank onto the bed. Her hands trembled. For the first time in years, she was not afraid. Not alone. Not forgotten. Remy watched from the doorway, his eyes damp again. In finding her, he had found himself.